Drive, whose most infamous villains, a closer look at the show's iconic baddies. You can't have a good Doctor without a great villain, and Doctor Who has had its fair share of iconic baddies over the years. From the Daleks to the Cybermen, each one has brought their own unique brand of terror to the show. But which ones stand out as the most infamous? Let's start with the Daleks. These cyborg aliens have been the Doctor's arch-nemesis for decades, and for good reason. Their single-minded dedication to exterminating all non-Dalek life forms makes them a formidable foe. But what's really interesting about the Daleks is their evolution over the years. From their humble beginnings as a simple, single-minded species to their current status as a complex, multifaceted threat, the Daleks have become one of the most nuanced and compelling villains in the universe. Of course, no discussion of Doctor Who villains would be complete without mentioning the Master. This renegade Time Lord has been a thorn in the Doctor's side for just as long as the Daleks, and for many of the same reasons. But while the Daleks are driven by a desire to exterminate, the Master is driven by a desire to dominate. He's a master manipulator, always playing the long game and using his intelligence and cunning to outwit his enemies. But the Master's greatest strength is also his greatest weakness. His ego and arrogance often lead him to underestimate the Doctor, and it's this underestimation that ultimately leads to his downfall. It's a classic villainous trope, but one that the Master executes with style and panache. And then there's the Cybermen. These once human robots have been a staple of the show for just as long as the Daleks, and for many of the same reasons. But while the Daleks are driven by a desire to exterminate, the Cybermen are driven by a desire to upgrade. They see humanity as flawed and imperfect, and believe that by upgrading themselves to cybernetic perfection, they can achieve true greatness. But the Cybermen's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. Their desire to upgrade is so strong that they're willing to sacrifice their very humanity in order to achieve it. And it's this sacrifice that ultimately leads to their downfall. They become so focused on their goal that they forget what it means to be human. And it's this forgetfulness that ultimately leads to their destruction. Finally, there's the Weeping Angels. These quantum-locked beings are one of the most recent additions to the universe, and they're easily one of the most terrifying. Their ability to turn people into statues and send them through time is a game changer, and their slow, deliberate movements make them all the more unnerving. What's really interesting about the Weeping Angels is their connection to the classic villain. The angels are, in essence, a manifestation of the classic villain's greatest fear, being trapped in the past, unable to change or escape. And it's this fear that makes them so compelling. So there you have it, 4 of the most infamous villains in the universe. Each one brings their own unique brand of terror to the show, and each one has contributed to the rich and complex history of Doctor Who. Whether you're a casual fan or a die-hard Wovian, these villains are sure to leave a lasting impression.